Kick-Ass Switch, putting the K in magic. I'm Joanna DeVoe, and you are watching another episode of Every Which Way. Another episode of Every Which Way with Lenora Henson, the author of the Wicked Garden series. And if you're not a fan of witchy fiction, which I totally do not understand, because I'm all about the witchy fiction, and that's what the Wicked Garden series is about, I still recommend sticking around for this interview because we are going to talk about the power of perseverance, what the soul is, what it is to do soul work, and why Lenora believes that desire trumps need every single time. This is such a good interview with such a good woman, a kick-ass witch, an awesome example of someone who has completely turned her life around and made her own dreams come true and really stepped into her own power. And that's what I'm all about here at Kick-Ass Switch. And I'm just so proud to call this woman friend and to share this conversation with you. So grab a cup of tea, sit back, relax, and enjoy. Hi, Lenora. Welcome back to Every Which Way.
Hi, Joanna. Thanks for having me back again.
Yay! I hope I get to interview you again one day, but I'm so pleased and excited that this interview is really the end of an era for you. But me, I've been like riding in your wake, just like enjoying the ride. And I'm so honored that I got to interview you for each book and an interview before the series started, which you just had your launch party, and I said in that she does these kick-ass online launch parties, and they're really fun, and I popped in, and I was saying, like, I never would have interviewed you, ever, before reading the book, but there was something, like, emanating off of you, like this power and this conviction, and I knew... I got chills just now saying it. I can't even say it without like full-body chills. I knew that you were going to do everything you said you were going to do, and you did it in record time. So congratulations. Thank you for not making a liar out of me. So let's tell people what you did.
I wrote a book series, the Wicked Garden series. And is that what you mean?
Oh, yes, of course.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, yeah, I had this book series that I had started, I guess it's probably 6 or 7 years ago. And I just wrote it for me then. And it took over my life, and it was just so amazing to write it. And I wrote like the first 5 out of the 6 books, the skeletons of it, the bones of it, then. And then a lot happened in my life, and I kind of got away from it, and I had things that you have to deal with, pedestrian responsibilities, and so I reached this point in my life where I had to come back to it. I was ready for it again, and it was, it kept calling me, wanted me to come back, like children, I guess, or something, and so I went back to it, and I self-published, and I did it in a very short amount of time, 3 years, I guess, 6 books.
It just flew by.
It did.
I think you really showed people what's possible, because so many people have that dream. And now because we can self-publish our books at such a high level and reach such a wide, like worldwide audience, you basically show people how it's done. Like you did it at such a high level. I want to show people the book. So there we go.
That's the last.
So, just to let people know, she has some construction going on in her house. So if you hear like, it's not Lenora, it's not her, it's the people building the deck behind her.
Yes.
Just this needs to give people an idea of like what you did, because you photographed every cover and you formatted every book yourself. And in addition to writing them, and then you also kind of documented that journey. Like there's behind the scenes photos of you doing, like you really threw yourself into it. You didn't just slap a cover together. Like you made an adventure with Rachel, your model. Can you tell us a little bit about those adventures that you had for each cover of the book?
Yes, the whole thing was really synchronistic. When I finally decided that I had nothing left to lose when I started on the book journey, really. And I'll go back to that in a minute. But I met Rochelle through my niece Gabby, and they were in high school then, and they were on the volleyball team together. And I, of course, would go to the volleyball games, which was always fun. But she's a 6 foot tall redhead. And that was my character. My main character was a 6 foot tall redhead. And my niece is like, I know somebody for your book. And she's like, Rochelle. And I'm like, of course. So my niece Gabby and I and Rochelle Gabby's grandma had an old truck. And so that's where it all really started, because there is this old truck in the Wicked Garden in the first book. And so that's where it started, with that first photo shoot. And then, of course, my brother, my late brother, who was Gabby's father, he has a little poppy garden on his property. And so that's kind of where the poppies came from. But we did several photo shoots there, too.
Wow. And then in the lake, you did a photo shoot. And
we did one, and one of my friends volunteered for us to use her lake, and she also had her niece had a black horse that it's in the book, and so we used the black horse. Everything just came together just like it should have for it, and we always had so much fun. And she was willing to do anything, and it was just. Mm-hmm. I'm a photographer anyway, so I loved getting great shots, and it was part of the creative process for me.
Yes, this was such a personal, it's such a personal book series, because there's so much of you in it. It's where you live, it's where you're from, and you really get a sense of that. So that's, to me, what sets it apart from other, like if you're into witchy fiction, if people like to read those books, this is that. But it also has this super personal flavor, and it's very, very specific, because it comes from someone's life in a very specific way, with the poppies, with the horse, with the super tall redhead. And it's really, too, an example of synchronicity for me. When I experience synchronicity, which is more and more all the time, the more you learn to trust it, the more you experience it, I always take that as a yes, like from the universe.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, we've got you. There will be others to follow. Just shoot the truck and the black horse will appear, that kind of thing.
It's almost messages from the muse. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of how I see it. And, or I work with the messenger, the divine messenger also, which is Hermes. So messages from Hermes too. So, yeah.
Do you feel like that was the divine messenger for life, or just for this series? Do you feel like maybe because it's coming to an end, do you feel like new guides are going to be stepping in for you, or have they already? Or do you feel like these guys are going with you for the long haul?
I think there may be some new guides I worked with, but I think Hermes will always be there. And I think he's been with me since I was very small, and I just didn't realize it this strongly until now, or, until a few years ago. But I'm already getting new hits for my next project. And I mean, the synchronicities are just popping up, and I did not expect this, but that's kind of how it happened the first time too. So, yeah. And it's so amazing when this happens. And like you said, you just have to trust. Mm-hmm. And it's not something that you can force. And that's something that I've learned throughout this process. You cannot force it. You have to flow. So.
And you definitely have. Well, so that you just kind of hit on, we'll circle all over the place, but you just hit on the primary thing I wanted to talk to you about, because we've done so many of these interviews, with each book we've talked about. I love the interview we did on perseverance. I recommend people go. In the blog post, I will link to all of them, which I did, I think, for the last one too. But go check out the interview we did on perseverance, because You really embody that. I like to call you the queen of perseverance. Yeah, and so what other lessons did you learn? Like, because I'm sure I just know you personally behind the scenes, which makes this book even more personal because you went on your own journey, like your own spiritual journey. This really represents an epic time in your life. So what other lessons came along with that?
I did definitely the not forcing things and the perseverance. Wow. I knew that I was a very determined person. I knew that, but I didn't know how much so. And yeah, that really brought it out in me. Gosh, I'm not sure what other lessons. I may have to.
I have specific
I'll
questions.
figure them out as we go.
I have specific questions about that. So, what lessons did you learn about other people? Did anything come up for you about other people? It could be through a character, it could be through your model, it could be through your husband, your kids, your friends, just other people, like things that you learned about them and putting something like this out. It could be your fans.
Sure. I have learned, well, the not forcing things, that also was a lesson that I learned from my husband, who we call the Mighty Oak. He really taught me a lot. He's like, when we force things, he's like, this, when we force things, it doesn't just make it hard, it makes it almost impossible. You can't force things. You can work with it. You can work with things, but you can't force something to happen. The perseverance. I learned from Diana that people can change, that people, not just that people can change, but people can soften. Mm-hmm. And, personalities can shift based on experience. And somebody who's really weak can become very strong. And I'm sure you know what character I'm talking about there. So, yeah, I think we shouldn't underestimate people. That's what I think. I think we're very quick to judge, and that's just human nature. But we shouldn't underestimate people or ourselves, what we're capable of.
Yeah, I do know who you're talking about. Diana, I've noticed this about myself during our friendship, actually. I really started noticing it when I got hooked into Athena. But I also got really hooked into Diana. I'm sort of like the defender of the misunderstood, like, sacred bitch is kind of how I think about it. And I really thought, like, Diana's heart was in the right place, and she may have been an overzealous character, and that may have made her, like, brittle and crunchy from the outside. But I always sensed in her love. And I related to that.
Yes. And I think in the first book, she was a little softer. And then when the mystery got, when the juiciness got more intense, she became more intense too, because she'd been working on this for 40 years, and it was just like, she's so determined. But yeah, she does soften.
And honestly, I mean, all these characters were born out of you. So I hope this isn't insulting, but I see Diana and you. I mean, you wouldn't have finished this book otherwise. It required this whole series, it required a certain level of, like, obsession,
Yeah, I feel like each character has a little bit of me in it. Mm-hmm. So, good or bad.
Yeah. So just maybe nuts and bolts, what did you learn about the nuts and bolts of publishing, self-publishing? Probably so much, and I know we've already touched on that, but for people that don't know, that haven't watched the previous interviews, is there, like, one juicy thing that you would like to tell people to save them the heartache and the time?
Yeah. Well, of course, I didn't know back then about this whole Amazon thing, and I was already a fan of Kick-Ass Witch. And we may have even been talking then, but I remember watching that video, one of your Every Which Way videos, about self-publishing, and it was with Joanna Penn.
Yeah.
And that's really what I was like, I'm going to do this. And so what I did was, And this is, honest to gosh, where I started. I opened a business email account. That's where I started. And I'm like, and that was like, okay, this is going to move from being a creative venture to being also a business venture. So I put that slash mark in. And when you do that, I think you take it a little more seriously. And I did. I was like, okay. And that's where the perseverance started coming in. It shifted a little bit. And then I started the Create Space account and do go around Create Space and look around, see what they offer. They offer everything. They offer the covers that they will do for you and the interior design and the Kindle, of course. But you don't necessarily have to pay to have that stuff done. All this stuff I taught myself how to do, even the Kindle conversion. So have a little faith in yourself. A lot of it you can do yourself. And that Kindle was not easy. I remember being up until like probably 3 in the morning the first time doing the first one. And now it's a piece of cake. So just trust yourself.
Did you ever, that to me sounds a lot like take yourself seriously and act like it,
Yeah, I think there's a time and place to take yourself seriously.
Yeah.
Really. And that's because you become your own boss. Mm-hmm. And so it's, yeah, what am I capable of? You stop whining, get in there and try it. And that's what I did. Yeah. I didn't have a lot of money to work with at that point, so I had to use my resources. And I found resources.
I've been talking about people treat you the way you treat yourself, too. And I think if you're going to have such an ambitious dream like that, if you want other people to take it seriously, you have to take it seriously. And that's probably why those of us that gathered around you in the beginning gathered around in the beginning. That's probably that magic thing where I said, I believe her. Like, she's actually going to do this.
There was a lot of that energy in the beginning. It was just so exciting for me because when you make a decision like that, it carries you someplace else. And then when you get to the next place, then you move again. Mm-hmm. It's got movement. And it was almost like Eli when he was in this inertia for 17 years. And I kind of felt like that myself. And in the first book, it says he was inertia's bitch. And so when he has this big shift and then everything starts moving and these synchronicities take place. And that's really what happened for me too. Once I made that decision and, decided I wasn't going to be inertia's bitch anymore, then things really fell into place.
I have an impossible time imagining you as an inertia's bitch. Like, I can't envision that. Were you, from the outside looking in, would people agree with me about that? Or do you feel like you really spent a lot of time in that place?
Oh, I did. I did, without a doubt.
Wow, that's fascinating. Well, then you're a testament to people change.
Yeah, it was, and you know my background, so yeah, I don't know how to explain it. I finally was doing what I was supposed to be doing when I broke that inertia, broke that bond with inertia. I finally was like, aha, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And then I had another inertia that lasted, probably a couple years. And then that's when we had our conversation, or when I saw your video and then made that next move.
Yeah, I relate to that. I relate to this idea of being a late bloomer. Mm-hmm. And I tend to attract those people into my life, I think, because I hold that energy. But also, I always had the sense that I know what I'm capable of. And I would get very angry with myself, and then I guess that's the spark that like carries you forward until you finally just get with it already,
Oh, absolutely. And I didn't write for 10 years until my first inertia broke. And they call it a psychic change when got inertia breaks. And, but yeah, I remember deciding I'm done with this. This is not going anywhere. I just kind of gave up on myself and decided I was just going to live day to day and just, disappear into the background, which was basically what happened. And, it was 10 years. And when that psychic change happened, one of the first things that I did was start writing.
Yeah. You're so not a background player, Lenora.
What?
You're not a background player.
Oh, no, I don't think so either.
No. Someone recently asked in a group, and this is something I've seen mentioned a lot online, but a group that I lead about imposter syndrome. So did you go through any of that? Or once you had the idea, I'm doing this, like, did you feel like I'm not really a writer? Or have you always just been like, I am a writer, here we roar?
I maybe during when I may have had a few of those moments when I was like writing a specific paragraph or something, but not really, because I really never cared. From the first moment I started writing this series, I really never cared what anybody else thought about it. And that's how I was able to write about such taboo topics and, controversial things that I wrote about. I don't care what, I do care, but I'm going to write what I want. And to me, that's what it's about, I guess. I mean, I'm an author because I'm published, I guess. I don't know how to explain it, but I just always knew from the time I was in second grade that I was a writer. And it was just a matter of me believing in myself. I don't need anybody else to believe in me.
Yeah.
For this purpose, because I just know.
Did you have a sense of a graduation of sorts? Like now, I mean, you've done the 6-book series. Like, do you feel like, and this is just the beginning, or I just, or do you even want to ever do a project like this again?
That's funny, because I've been going through a lot of emotions. And I'm just like, oh God, I'm so glad it's done. Now I can relax. Now I can relax for a little bit. But the muse, and I didn't think the muse would bother me for a while. And I don't mean bother. I didn't think she would come back to me for a while. But I'm already getting these hits, like I said. So it may be something that whenever she's ready for me, I'll start writing. I mean, that's how it works. That's how it works. When she's ready, she'll work through me and I'll start writing again. But I would like to do another series.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's fiction. The muse is a fiction muse.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I have a wild imagination.
We now have gardeners here. So you have construction, I have gardeners, and we've had to hang up on each other a few times. But we shall persevere in the spirit of Lenora Henson.
Funny.
So do you think, for anybody that wants to do this, like, what was your biggest challenge? Like the biggest obstacle to making it through 6 books? And what was the solution? We need to know the solution. You can't just leave us with the obstacle.
Great point. The biggest challenge for me was I didn't have that 6th book, the bones of it, written. And so when it came, I took a break after the 5th book because I knocked him out, bang, 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 bang. And I decided to take a break. We were moving, and so I took the summer off. And then we had some upsetting news over the summer. My husband's company was leaving the United States, and he was going to have to get a new job. We were going to have to move again, and my dad was sick. And so when it came time for me to write again, I couldn't. And I'm like, I'm on a schedule here. And there are people waiting for this. And so I was just tearing myself up about it. And there were days when I was just like, very upsetting, because like I said, you cannot force it. And so after we moved for the second time in 2015 and got settled and everything, and my dad did pass away, so I had to go through some grieving. and he died in October, and we moved in December. And so I think it was January when I finally got back to work, and the muse was like, okay, you're calm enough, let's do this. And but it was those few months from like July, August, September, October, that whole holiday season. It was not enjoyable for me at all. That was the obstacle. Life happens and you have to let it.
Oh, it so does. It so does. So what is the solution? Just faith that the muse will return?
The solution, I think it is faith. And I think it's everything has a time, and business will wait. I had to take care of myself. It was a matter of self-care.
Yeah.
And the muse knew. She's like, you have to take care of yourself first before. And Aphrodite is a big part of my muse too, and she's the goddess of self-care. And so she knew. She was like, you're not going to be writing. You're not doing this. Take care of your family, take care of yourself, and then we'll get back to business. And so that's what happened. That's the solution. Just trust yourself, I guess.
It's interesting as you say that to think too that you only had the first 5 books outlined, like a skeleton of those, and the 6th book was like this mystery. So you didn't know how the story ended. So I really think like the 6th book maybe was an exercise in faith and trusting the muse in a different way that maybe the other 5 weren't. Or am I wrong?
I think you're right too. It was definitely, and there was a lot of creativeness to it too. I had to tap into that creativeness again. That I hadn't had to do. I mean, I did, but like I said, part of it was already done. So yeah.
I wrote a little project last year about creating thought forms that spring to life, and how you can consciously create a thought form, and then it becomes like a little character that you can call on, a guide. It'll go out and do your dirty work for you. Do you feel like you did that maybe? I'm thinking of Graham Duncan, but it could be with any character. Do you feel like you created some sort of like new muse for yourself that you'll, even though the series is over, maybe some of these characters might continue on and have a life of their own?
Yeah, and I did mention this at the launch. There may be a spinoff. It just depends on what the muse wants to do. And I will say this for any Wicked Garden fans that are watching. I will say that the name that is in my head right now is Violet Bloom. So if you know anything about the first series, you might be interested in that name. Yeah. So
definitely.
We'll see where the muse takes me with that.
Interesting. That's a juicy tidbit.
Exclusive.
Nice. So is there anything that nobody's asked you, or a really awesome question that somebody posted? The way you do your online launches is it's all text. Like people write you questions and you answer. You post lots of pictures too. But is there anything, because it was all written down, that you want to elaborate on or just hit on again for people that didn't make the launch? Like a favorite question or comment?
I'm trying to think.
I know I keep putting you on the spot, but those launches are really fun, and you put a lot into them, so I thought it'd be cool to drudge up something that one of the fans maybe wanted to know.
Yeah. Well, there was a good question from a gal named Zoe in Liverpool, actually, and she asked, even if you don't feel like you're going to publish, should you write? And the answer was a resounding yes, because when I started writing the series, I didn't know if it was ever going to be published. I didn't know anything about Amazon, the self-publishing way back 6 years ago. It seems like forever ago, but absolutely. Right. It, I wrote an autobiographical novel when I first started writing after that 10 years, and it healed me. And so writing has that power to heal, even if even if you don't have any plans of publishing, write to heal. And you know what? If it is good, you might want to publish it. And also, when you write it for yourself, the pressure's not there. I will always say that when you write it for yourself, and just because it's a creative flow, it's going to turn out better than if you are trying to force it.
Yeah.
So, or you have a deadline or something. So
yes, or you're trying to please someone else.
Absolutely, yes.
I read a book
I
read a book years ago. I still have it, but maybe I'm getting the title wrong. But I think it's called "Writing as a Path to Healing," and it's about that. It's about writing for yourself. It's not even with. Maybe I'll publish this one day. It's just about that kind of expression. For me, I've burned and destroyed journals because they're so personal, but I continue to write them because I actually work my problems out while I'm writing. So it starts off like chaotic or angry or sad, and then, can you hear that?
It sounds like a little beep.
Really? Oh my God, it's so loud. Sounds like the hornets of hell are like right here.
The harpies.
Anyway, it'll start out really chaotic or just a mess, and then the solution comes through the writing, and then by the end of it, I have, it's very positive and empowering. I have the lesson or have the action that I have to take. So I agree.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah. And I've done the same thing. I wrote from the time that I was little bitty, and I burned all of those journals, and they served their purpose, So I didn't feel like I needed to keep them anymore, but yeah, right. And I don't write a lot of other stuff like I used to. And I guess I feel like the fiction has kind of taken over for that. Mm-hmm. So.
Yes. Well, you do actually write nonfiction too. So do you want to tell people a little bit about that? Like for Camp Wildflower. Camp Wildflower.
That is true. I run a soul group called Psyche Circle. And I'm very much about soul work and mythology and archetypes and symbology and the rhythm of the soul. And so that's what this group is about, Psyche Circle. And I do different modules. This summer, June, July, August, and September, I'm running Camp Wildflower. And this is basically a camp. I call it a camp for grown-ass folk. And we'll be doing June is Wild Style. July is Star Spangled Summer. August is Aromapalooza. And then September is Practical Magic. So it's all really fun. And I enjoy writing those because it's on topics that I like. So
yes.
Yeah.
So it's interactive. People do
Definitely.
the modules. It's not just about reading a piece of it. They're like prompts.
Absolutely, and there's exercises, and I call them tasks because of the psyche, the mythology of Psyche and Aphrodite and Eros. Psyche had 4 tasks to do, so there's tasks that you have to do, and then take pictures and put it on the Facebook page. So it's fun.
Can you talk a little bit about what soul work is? Like, what do you mean when you say soul work?
For me, soul work is really diving a little bit deeper, deep soul diving. You call it something, and then I call it something else in the book. Deep sea diving with the SEE is what Miranda Stewart calls it. So it's going deeper. It's understanding your own rhythms and its aesthetics and appreciating beauty and seeing. It's seeing the symbology of your life and kind of seeing the patterns and how things, it's not really systematic so much as it is romantic and beautiful. And the soul really likes that kind of stuff. And I see the spirit more as action and then the soul more as desire. And so when we do soul work, what does the soul desire? What does the soul, what does it want to see? What does it want to do? Travel or dress pretty, flowers, things of that nature. Comfort. The soul loves comfort. The soul loves memory. The soul it's endless, and it's potential and possibility, and I could just go on and on. Yeah.
Do you think the soul goes on and on? Do you is
I do.
Do you feel like, this is obviously just your opinion, but I would love to know your opinion. Do you feel like the soul stays intact? Like the soul of Lenora Henson might be born as Margaret Higginbottom next I don't know. In 100 years from now. But do you feel like your soul, I know some people believe that we go back to the divine and then it just gets mushed up into the divine soup, the creative soup. Or do you believe in like the soul's autonomy, I guess is what I'm asking.
I think I do. I have not had past life experiences, even though I write about it. So I can't really relate to that. I only relate to, I know myself. It's like that saying, know thyself, to thine own self be true. And I feel like the more soul work I do, the more I know my own container. Mm-hmm. And that's how I see the soul, is this container of potential. And I feel like that's what I've been doing the past 6 years, is finally tapping into that potential. I don't, as far as the spiritual view of it, I don't know. It's hard for me to define that, because I really haven't done any of that deep sea diving lately. But not that I don't, because I do.
Yeah, I just thought it was a fun question. For myself, I deeply believe, and I always have believed, I would say known, you could argue with that, but that I am an infinite being. And I feel like an autonomous soul, but I don't think we really get to know. It just feels that way in this lifetime to me, like.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. I can't imagine not being this when I am. I don't know. I can accept that the body dies, but it's very challenging for me to, I don't want to just disappear into the big soup and then come out as something else. So I have some resistance around that idea for sure.
Yeah, I think I believe that's good.
Yeah. Something that I really got into last year that Ann Ortley, an astrologer, shared that I've repeated ad nauseum is that you feed your soul through your moon. So if people don't know where to start, they might want to do Camp Wildflower, because that's what it's all about. But also look at what your moon sign is and what that moon sign likes, and start there. I think it's just for fun, I think that's the key to soul work, is do it with a sense of adventure and playfulness. It's not something, Absolutely. It's not academic.
Yeah, and don't go into it with a negative vibe, like, I just see so many whiners out there. And I think when you're going to do soul work, it's got to stay positive, like you just said. And it's go in there looking for your desire, not go in looking for the potential, not what you're missing. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm not living my soul's purpose. Well, make it an adventure finding it.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
A scavenger hunt.
Yes, a soul scavenger hunt.
Synchronicity is your clue. When you have a synchronicity, you got a clue. Follow that clue.
Absolutely. And that's the fun of it, is following the rhythm and following the patterns. Because that's the divine talking to you. And God, what's more fun than that?
I know what's fun. Making memes. I love making memes.
Yeah.
I love taking a quote, and the one that I made last year for Duncan, I still love it. Like I still love that damn thing, because I saw that picture and I was like, that's definitely him. And he's so like, just like naked, but like full of his own self, and he does not have like the super sexy body, but You couldn't tell him that.
No.
And I just love it. And he's in a tree. But what he says is what I was trying to get around to here is that, well, you tell me what he says in the meme, because I know you know.
Yeah, desire trumps need every single time.
Yes. Can I get you to repeat that because you're echoing?
Desire trumps need every single time.
Why, Lenora? What does that mean?
I'm going to parallel it to something else. For instance, an addict, say if you want to lose weight or you need to lose weight to survive or whatever, or you need to stop drinking or smoking or whatever, the need can be there all at once. That addiction will eventually kill you or put you in jail or whatever. But if you want to be different bad enough, that will trump the need. The want is what's going to keep you alive. The want to be better. The need doesn't give a shit. The need is just the natural path. But the want, if you want something, that's what breaks inertia. Desire.
That was the purpose of this interview. I'm damn sure of it.
Goosebumps.
That's good. That's really, really good. So what do you desire now?
I have a wanderlust right now. We're going to have a fun summer with my family, finally, after a lot of adversity. And I think it's going to open my eyes to some new things, to some new views, and it's going to do my soul good. So that's what I want next. I want to have a good Camp Wildflower this summer, and then maybe in the fall, I'll be writing a new book.
So cool. So exciting. I'm so proud to call you friend. I really, really mean that.
Thank you for all your support over these years, Jo. You really, really helped push me through this.
Well, you've been very inspiring, so it's easy to support that. So let's end with the question I always end with, and that is, what is your one tip? You've shared so many, you probably are going to have to dig deep for this now, for creating the kick-ass life of your dreams.
Trust your desire.
Follow that bird. Follow your desire.
Follow your bliss, yeah.
Yeah. I love it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Much love. Peace.